Welcome back. The Junos OS routing protocol process uses information in its routing tables and in the configuration file to choose an active route to use. Junos might know of many routes to a given destination, but route preference is what determines which route is used. The Junos routing protocol process determines which route is active by selecting the route with the lowest preference value. Something you need to be familiar with when it comes to route preference is the default preferences of various types of routes. Directly connected networks and local routes have a default preference value of 0. Static routes are 5, and OSPF routes are 10. ISIS routes are 15 and 18, and RIP routes are 100. Aggregate routes are 130, and BGP or eBGP is 170. If the router finds that there are multiple equal cost paths to the same destination, it will randomly pick a route to use, and use it. OSPF, ISIS, and RIP are considered IGP protocols or Interior Gateway Protocols. BGP is not an Interior Gateway Protocol, but rather a Border Gateway Protocol. It's important to be familiar with some of the default behaviors of some of these protocols, just like default preference, so you know how and what to expect from them. Something that you should know is the default routing actions. These routing actions are referred to as default import and export policies. This is what the protocols do with incoming and outgoing routes by default. All of them accept import routes by default, but they vary on export. The default export policy for BGP is to accept and export active BGP routes. The default export policy for RIP is to reject everything. You must configure an export policy for RIP to allow any export routes. The default policy for OSPF is also to reject everything. So let's take a look at the Junos routing tables. For this, we need to be in operational mode. So the first routing table we'll take a look at is inet.0. We can look at that routing table by issuing the show route table inet.0 command. This is going to show us the inet.0 routing table, of course. Something else that you can do is you can show route protocol static. This is going to show you the static routing information on the device. Here it's showing us the static route exists in the inet.0 table. It's telling us there are 3 destinations and 4 routes exist, 3 of which are active. You can use the show route table command for other routing tables as well, like if you have OSPF or BGP enabled and running, and you can view those routing tables with the same command. Some of the other routing protocols actually use different routing tables other than inet.0. Something that bears a little discussion is the difference between the routing table and the forwarding table. We know what the routing table is, but how is that different from the forwarding table? Well, let's take a look at the forwarding table here. If we issue the show route forwarding table command, this will actually show us the forwarding table information.